Hey, so today we've been taking a look at Angron and the World Eaters by Majorkill. As always, I'm going to be leaving the links to the original video and channel down in the description below, so go to make sure that you check them out. Now, if this is your first time seeing this channel, a little background on myself. I was a former corporal in the United States Marine Corps as an 0311, and I went on 2 deployments. First one, primarily stayed in Kuwait. Second one, went back to Kuwait. Also got to spend some time in Syria, go on a mission. Nothing too crazy. Now, the World Eaters. I learned a little bit about them from the Adeptus Ridiculous podcast and learned a little bit about Angron, right? If I remember, I understand that he was somewhat of a gladiator. He was a slave kind of from his planet. He did not have necessarily the best upbringing, right? And quite frankly, after listening to him a little bit, I kind of feel bad for the guy. And, I feel like he gets SHIT on quite a bit, not only from like the podcast or just from people in the comments. I mean, because apparently he's supposed to suck as a Primarch. I guess we'll find out a little more here. But at some points, I feel somewhat sympathetic to him. It could change though, depending on what other things I see him do. But in any case, before we get into the video, don't forget to like, subscribe. It really does help me a lot. Hit that notification button so you get notified every time I do upload. Without wasting too much more time, let's go ahead, get right into the video.
G'day, fuckheads. Holy titty jizzle, I am excited for this video. Long-time viewers of this channel know that the extent of my humour used to be how many times I could say cunt in one sentence, and while that version of Majorkill has a special place in my heart, he was an autistic little shit and he had to be put down. But we're bringing him back! Only the autistic rage of an unfunny try-hard edgelord Majorkill could possibly hope to do justice to the World Eaters. Angry, roided, sexually frustrated super soldiers who have nails in their brains. In my opinion, Angron, and by extension his legion, should be the Imperium's galaxy-wide example of why abortion should be legalized, as in a universe full of advanced tactics, heavy gunfire and military discipline, a bunch of angry boys are somehow able to overcome it all using just chain axes and the power of plot armor infused rage. More on that later. Today we'll cover who the World Eaters are and where they come from. We'll also take a deep dive at their Primarch Angron and why he is actually angry beyond being in a constant state of brain-nailed rapage. Let's get into it. When the Big E decided he wanted to clap the galaxy's cheeks, he created 20 overpowered as shit demigod children called Primarchs, using some 80s era cum wipes. The 4 gods of chaos did not want to get their cheeks clapped, well, maybe other than Slaanesh, and decided to yeet the baby Primarchs across the galaxy using warp fuckery and the Big E's wife. Despite this setback, the God Emperor of Mankind used the DNA of his Primarchs to create 20 legions of super soldier space marines. The 13th Legion were a group of hard warriors who acted as shock troopers designed to massacre the enemy. These warriors were called the Warhounds. Before the discovery of their Primarch, the Warhounds did not really get...
The Warhounds, it's got a better ring to it than World Eaters. What do you think, though?
much of a spotlight on them, beyond being known for their savagery and all-around cuntiness. This just got worse when they found their Primarch. One of the Primarchs that got yeeted was Angron, and he landed on a shitty slave-infested planet of Nukria. Now, even from a childhood, Angron was an absolute creature, and he killed an elder squad that attacked him just as he crawled out of his landing capsule, only to be captured by a group of slavers. So yeah, rough start, but not that bad compared to people like Mortarion, who landed on a planet that had cancer and his dad was a necromancer, or Lehman, who got raised by wolves. Angron was forced to fight in the Nukria gladiatorial arenas, and obviously wrecked everyone's tits. He gained a lot of fame in that arena, and even found a father figure to guide him, but he wasn't too keen on the whole slave situation, and tried to escape a number of times. Each time he got his ass.
It's also kind of gives you like the Spartacus type feel, right? I guess they were trying to go for more of that Spartan motif here, obviously, like also with the gladiator like concept, right? Yeah, so like at this point, he just got a horrible end of the stick or deal.
Ass kicked because Angron is the worst Primarch ever. Corvus had a very similar upbringing and he didn't get captured. Hell, Conrad even crash landed into his planet's crust, crawled his way through lava, and then had to hide from all the rapists, and he still became king of the planet. Anywho, after clapping in Ogren's cheeks, the Lords of Nukria ordered Angron to kill his daddy, and Angron was like, no, fuck off. So instead they shoved danger nails into his brain, which basically upped his aggression times 10 and made him a berserker. See, each Primarch was supposed to embody one or more of the Emperor's characteristics, and before the nails, Angron was a man of honor and empathy. He literally had an ability to take away other people's pain and discomfort, so it looked like he got specced into a support role from the start, but then he got...
It's kind of ironic, considering that I always hear that he's angry, you know. But why does he... Or, like, what actions did he take to cause him, I guess, to be kept trapped? Because I understand, like, other other Primarchs, I mean, who did land in, like, horrible worlds, and they still managed to kind of come out on top. But, like, what things was he doing? Like, why is it that he was failing, I guess, from what it seems like, right? And they just... Was it that he sucked as a Primarch, or was it just that he just made a couple of bad choices, right? And then it led him to consequences that couldn't be reversed.
An account-bound item that forced him to build into DPS. A lot of people say this was the tragedy of Angron, the only Primarch who was not able to be who he was meant to be, but I say the shit cunt deserved it. Any other Primarch would have gotten out of that situation except for Angron. Guess those empathy powers suck, eh, Angron? After his brain got nailed, Angron killed his...
Hold on, I just want to hear that part again.
A lot of people say this was the tragedy of Angron, the only Primarch who was not able to be who he was meant to be, but I say the shit cunt deserved it. Any other Primarch would have gotten out of that situation except for Angron. Guess the...
Is that true? I mean, I understand he's trying to be like the whole edgy and all that, but if he is saying this, like, if this is a true thing, like maybe he just, I don't know, he sucked in his decision making sucked, and maybe it was the fact that he felt empathy, right? Or like felt, what if his natural characteristics for the planet he landed on were the things that caused him to not be successful, right? Because it seems like the other people who, like, say Conrad, for example, right? For what his background was and what he would end up being, it kind of fit his motif. And for here, it seems like Angron may have gotten like screwed over in that concept. I mean, hell, it was just by luck, right? That he came here. I don't know if just saying that any other Primarch could have gotten out of there. I don't know though. There's still quite a few Primarchs that I don't know a whole lot about.
Those empathy powers suck, eh, Angron? After his brain got nailed, Angron killed his daddy in a blind rage, and when he chilled out, he was pretty sad, and vowed, probably for the 500th time, that he would escape and kill the Nucrean lords. Well, after a bunch more failed escapes, Angron united the gladiators of the arena and they staged another escape, this time finally managing it with 2,000 gladiators escaping under his command. This army was fierce as fuck, and they killed dozens of thousands of Nucrean soldiers. However, eventually they were only down to 1,000 and were surrounded by 7 armies. It was at this time Daddy E, who had been watching the whole affair for some time, beamed down, was like, "What up, son? You're going to die tomorrow if you do not come with me." And Angron was like, "Fuck off, Dad, I'm not a kid anymore," and chose to remain with his warriors to die with honor. The Big E got salty and then left. He then went on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and was given his...
I didn't know you could refuse, honestly.
Next question. How should I go about recruiting my son into the Great Crusade and securing his loyalty? Do I A. Extract him and his army to safety using my teleporters? B. Bomb the shit out of the evil Nucrean lords? C. Bring a force of custodies and warhounds down to the surface to fight side by side with my son in glorious combat? Or D. Teleport my son onto the ship, let all his warriors get massacred, and then offer his slave as a place within the Imperium of Man? Well, the Big E, being a bit of a meme lord, went with option D and he beamed Angron up. Angron wasn't super keen on this and he killed a Custodes, but then got mind raped by the Big E and knocked out.
Wait, did this kill the Custodes? Okay, okay, right. Alright, so he beamed him up, and it seems like he could have saved every single one of them or gone down there and fought with them, right? He saved him, killed his guys, and then, see, this is where those questionable actions, as far as what the Emperor does, the only thing I can see it from his perspective is that he thinks maybe it's not as efficient or not as worthy as far as getting the planet to come under the control of the Imperium, considering they did have, like, 7 armies. But I feel like he's shooting him in the foot, himself in the foot. And then, oh, well, definitely see why he turned to chaos now. Now, the more I keep finding out about Big E.
When he questioned his father why he couldn't have just saved his people, the Big E was like, bro, those backward slavery peasants can eat my ass, stop being such a pussy, now go take your marines and kick some people. Angron went to his room and started sulking. Whenever a warhound approached him, he would kill their ass until one day Khan, yes the Khan we all love, went in and fought his Primarch. He got his ass kicked, but Angron respected him for it, so he finally decided to put on his daddy shoes and be the Primarch his marines needed, renaming the Legion to the World Eaters. Except life was way better for the World Eaters before Angron came, meaning they had become the only Legion who negatively benefited off the retrieval of their Primarch. They also inherited the only Primarch who couldn't conquer his planet, so that's a record they aren't super stoked about. Before Angron was given his Legion, however, the Big E was slightly concerned.
How much are you carrying on your shoulders when it's like, wow, you didn't even conquer your own planet that you landed on? Well, I mean, and then also being the only one that's got a sting mentally, and the only ones who negatively were impacted by the Primarch. This guy just got the worst end of the deal on every damn front.
About the whole Anger Nails situation, hence booked him in for an MRI scan. It was revealed that the butcher nails had been specifically designed for humans and were extremely incompatible with Primarchs. As such, the nails had been extremely crudely put into the brain and basically destroyed any sense of pleasure Angron could have other than in battle. Parts of his brain had been removed and replaced with the nails, and in a few years Angron would die an agonizing death. So this makes another record for Angron, the only Primarch who was dying of brain cancer. Now I don't know if the Big E just didn't give a fuck or if he genuinely enjoyed messing with Angron, but despite being able to remove the nails, the Big E didn't, as it would leave Angron in a lobotomized state or it would take too long. Hence he was like fuck it, and sent Angron back to his Legion as he was considered well enough to take part in the crusade. Obviously by this point Angron had really shed his support class and uptaken the mantle of being a total dick to his sons, hence the first thing he did was attempt to recreate the nails to put into the World Eater's brains. However, once again he failed, as none of the attempts ended in anything but death. For now. The World Eaters ate the shit out of some worlds as they tore across the galaxy, scoring the lowest amount of peaceful Imperial compliances and highest amounts of genocide. Angron never fought for the Great Crusade and instead just enjoyed non-stop battle, so the Imperium generally aimed to send the World Eaters into places where they knew there was only war, so they could be used effectively. It was due to how effective they were in battle, it was why they got away with all their war crimes. Eventually everything came to a head.
They have war crimes in Warhammer? I think that line would be very lenient as far as what can and can't be done, right?
When they invaded a rebelling advanced world. The World Eaters were given 31 hours by their Primarch to conquer the planet, however were met with significant opposition and were forced to withdraw. Their Primarch then ordered 10% of the Legion to be murdered by the other 90% as a stupid ass punishment. The World Eater captain replied, "Listen here you senile angry old shit, no one is killing anyone, okay? The planet cannot be taken in 31 hours, stop being an asshole." To which Angron replied, "Are you sure no one is killing anyone?" before he began attempting to solo kill his own Legion. Only through the combined effort of a number of World Eater psychers who gave their lives were they eventually able to knock Angron out, making Angron the first Primarch to get his ass kicked by his own sons.
Okay, my whole little sympathy or empathy for this dude kind of went out the window, right? Because now he's just killing his own guys. And they're being very logical. He can't be taken in 31 hours, right? And then being the only one that got his butt kicked by his own sons, he sucks. It seems like he sucks. He sucks. Okay, got it.
He's really racking up the shit cunt trophies here, isn't he? It was at this time that some World Eaters figured out how to make a crude but working version of the Butcher's nails. Now not all the World Eaters were keen on brain cancer that mutated all their serotonin and put them in constant agony, hence there was a bit of a civil war that occurred between the World Eaters, with Khan being the one to end it by killing the very World Eater who defied Angron's purge order. The World Eaters began receiving their nails. As this occurred, the Imperium found out about the nails, as well as the World Eaters gone full overboard and killing everyone, hence they sent Lehman Russ to bring Angron back to Terra for judgment. Now I don't really know why the Emperor kept sending Lehman to go talk to wayward Primarchs and try bring them home peacefully, like Lehman was really shit at it. He completely fucked it up with Magnus, and once again he fucked it up here. Lehman arrived and was like, yo bro, I know you are a warlike man who never surrenders, but you must surrender and come with me peacefully. This obviously resulted in the first Astartes on Astartes battle that took place in the galaxy, as Space Wolves and World Eaters tore each other apart. Lehman and Angron engaged in a fierce battle and beat the shit out of each other, however eventually Angron knocked Lehman on his ass and had the upper hand. But then he didn't. Lehman the sly dog had baited Angron into a kill zone. He was surrounded by wolves holding guns that would blow him into shreds in seconds. Despite the World Eaters' fury in combat, and that they were actually winning in terms of kill count, they had no strategy and their Primarch was at Lehman's mercy. Now Lehman should have grown some balls and hit the abortion button to finally do to Angron what should have been done before he was born, but instead he couldn't bring himself to do it and he retreated, unable to kill his brother, and leaving Angron to be a smug asshole, thinking he had won that one.
And at a certain point, you gotta wonder, like, at what point do you gotta just say, there's no point in trying to help this person anymore? Like, this person, somewhat, it just seems like a lost cause, right? Then again, it could be different. I mean, I understand that they always just, there's always a brother type feel that it seems like they try to go for, but then a lot of times it just seems like some of them really don't care, right? If they are a brother or not. I understand it could be different between different Primarchs, but at this point, I think Angron is just way too gone, specifically because of those nails, carving knives, things that are in his. Yeah, I think it was carving knives because I also heard his speech to Gilliman, but as soon as those got implanted in him, I felt like he was screwed at that point.
There's actually a really cool conversation from the book Betrayer between Lorgar and Angron, where Lorgar basically spells out to Angron how pathetic he is, and how Lehman stomped his ass in that battle due to his tactically brilliant move, whilst Angron insists he won because the World Eaters killed more Space Wolves. It also shows how little the World Eaters cared for Angron, as the majority of them did not even notice he was in danger, and the many that did, didn't give a shit. After that incident, Angron continued his own crusade of blood across the galaxy, until the Emperor was like,
yeah, that was a good point, right? I mean, as far as them not caring whether or not he was really in danger or not, or even if they didn't know, can you blame them considering what you were trying to do to them, and then just killing your own guys I couldn't even imagine. You're gonna start making enemies out of people who are supposed to be your allies.
like, for fuck's sake, Horus, bring Angron to me so I can abort him once and for all. However, Horus, being the bold cunt he was, had already fallen to chaos, and instead manipulated Angron into joining his rebellion. Not that he needed much manipulating, Angron was super keen for the chance to bring down his father. The Istvan atrocity occurs where all the traitor legions attempt to purge themselves of anyone loyal to the Emperor, and Angron hates all the loyalists so much at this point that he personally leads the charge to kill the survivors of the massacre, despite Horus advising against it. Once again, Angron proves himself to be a dipshit without any tactics, as it took months to wipe out all the loyalists and allowed time for word of what happened to get back to Terra. After following Dropsite Massacre, Angron went off with Lorgar to go kick some blue ass, and attacked
Okay, so that's the part where it also starts to come that he sucks. He's not a leader then. He's not, like, he may know how to fight. He may be a great fighter. But he is horrible when it comes to, I guess, thinking. I mean, it could be due to the nails again. But then again, it could also be that before that even happened, all those attempts of escaping he tried to do still didn't work out. So a hot head, yes, especially now with the nails, and it just, he doesn't make good decisions.
Ultramar. They burnt a bunch of worlds, one of which resulted in Angron getting nearly killed due to him being an idiot and getting a building collapsed on him. After clawing out of the rubble, he then holds up a Warhound Titan's foot to prevent it from killing Lorgar. So yeah, leave it to the two shittest Primarchs to nearly die on some random planet by some random no-name characters. As this Shadow Crusade continued, Lorgar watched Angron rapidly begin to deteriorate. I mean, if it was even possible to deteriorate from where he was currently from. And he realized Angron was soon going to die. He took Angron to Nacrea, where they went to go see if there was some way to prevent this. Here's the funniest part. When they arrived, Angron was told by the Nacrean nobles that the legend of Angron ends with Angron running away like a coward on the final day before the battle. hence he was known as the planet's biggest pussy for hundreds of years. Angron responded by genociding the entire planet of all life, so absolutely no one would know that version of his origins. Whilst he was doing this, the Ultramarines arrive with Gullymen to get revenge for Lorgar's Ultramarine shenanigans, and the word bearers are getting their asses kicked until Angron arrives, fights Gullyman, has like 10 seizures, and then Lorgar turns him into a demon prince. The first thing Angron does after ascending is kill all of his World Eater Psychers, which is kinda stupid considering how many times they had saved him, but I guess when you have a batshit crazy brain-aids demon Primarch, they don't seem to think about things in a reasonable order. Either way, the processor doomed Angron's soul but saved his life. Now before we get to the Siege of Terra, I want to talk about Khan for a bit. The story of Khan is a bit more tragic than Angron. Khan began as a space marine who stood up to Angron and showed him the strength of the World Eaters. He stood by his Primarch's side and willingly accepted the Butcher's nails to become closer to him. He was the first marine to receive them. Time and time again he chose the side of his Primarch despite knowing it was all going to shit. He even was best bros with the word bearer Argel Tal, who despite being evil was actually quite likable.
He's an enabler, essentially, right? As far as I was going with whatever he wanted. I gotta check out the word bearers too. Check out Lorgar.
So it was pretty awesome when after Erebus betrayed and killed Argel, Khan challenged him to a duel, and boy oh boy did Erebus get his pedophilic ass stomped. Khan was relentless as he hacked pieces of Erebus off. Erebus was left a ruined mess after only a few moments, but got teleported out of there like the pussy he was. Fuck Erebus. Turns out it was even more possible for Angron to get angry now, as he had the essence of Khorne in him as he just bounced around the galaxy killing everything he could find. He completely ignored Horus's orders, hence Perturabo was sent to bring him in. Now Angron was a powered up demon Primarch, and Perturabo was yet just, Perturabo. Yet Angron once again got his ass kicked due to having zero concept of tactics. He was then thrown into a box and unleashed upon Terra when the time was right.
Also, Perturabo being a very incredibly smart Iron Warrior Primarch, and looking at how Angron looks right now, and the fact that Perturabo was able to still take him down, really shows like how much smarts or tactics, right? Just being like well adept on how to act and react can go a long way, right? And the fact at this point, it just seems like Angron, especially now that he's corrupted by chaos and has become his, I think he said ascended form, right, of like a demon. It's probably right at this point just relying on all instinct, or like kind of like a wild animal, so to speak, right? And it also, beforehand, it also seemed like he sucked at it, but now he's just completely horrible, pure animosity, back and forth type thing. So, okay.
The Siege of Terra wasn't kind to Angron or the World Eaters, as Angron got his ass kicked like 10 times. Half of those was him just attempting to breach the Emperor's psychic barrier, only for the Emperor to just swat him away. Another time he was blown to shreds by gunfire and had to be reforged by Khorne, and if the theories are true, sounds like Sanguinius is going to kick his ass in the coming Horus Heresy novels as well. The World Eaters fought hard, but their only cool character left at this point was Khan, who despite racking up a massive kill count, got his ass blasted and spent the rest of the siege in a coma. Emperor fights Horus, Horus dies, Emperor becomes a vegetable, and Angron fucks off. Now whilst the legions such as the Word Bearers, Death Guard and Iron Warriors remained intact and cohesive, others like the Emperor's Children, Night Lords and World Eaters had all lost their minds and split up. See, the World Eaters were berserkers before Khorne was a thing in their lives, plus the longer you have the nails, the worse it gets. So by this point, all you had was drooling insane meat sacks who just wanted to fight shit. However, it turns out the key to overcoming the nails isn't more violence, it's just mindfulness and meditation. The nails bite your brain when you attempt to have a good, happy, peaceful time or joy, and give you a pleasant rush when your brain experiences exhilaration. However, if you're able to maintain control, you would be able to control the nails, which is what some World Eaters have actually managed to do. Khan completed his fall to insanity when a battle on a planet got really cold, so all the World Eaters went to hunker down and weather out the storm. The Khan thought this was a pussy bitch move, so he decided to kill all the World Eaters on the planet and ascend to become the avatar of Khorne. The World Eaters no longer...
Bro, what is up with people killing their own guys? Like, there's no point in that. I mean, I haven't seen any positive. Besides, well, I mean, it says that he killed everyone. So, does that technically consider him, make him the only World Eater, at least in that planet. I don't know.
No longer have an army, but are scattered throughout various Trader Marine warbands and act as a specialist troop, likely making the World Eaters the smallest of all the Space Marine legions still around. Another record for them. Angron would go on to try and be a nuisance and invade the Imperium, however after he was beaten back, 90% of the territory it took was taken back off him, and then he got his ass kicked and his sword broken during the First War of Armageddon. Nice one, Angron. The issue with the World Eaters is that the writers have written themselves into a corner. Angron has the personality of an autistic kid on speed, especially since becoming a demon, so there's not much interesting happening there with his character, whilst the rest of the Legion are mostly just mindless berserkers. The World Eaters excel when they try to do the right honourable thing and have to mentally fight through the nails to do it. However, with Khorne's dick 10 inches up all their asses, that's pretty rare. There is a World Eater who aids Fabius Bile, who is a chilled out guy because of all this meditation, but he's an exception, not the rule. It seems like for now at least the World Eaters are just pulled out when the plot needs some hardcore close quarter combat, or Angron needs to get his ass kicked for the 100th time. And that does us for today, guys. The lore of Angron and the World Eaters.
Alright, let's go ahead and talk about that for a minute. So from what I just understood is that he's a punching bag, right? And God, I just knew a little more as far as like what was kind of going on with his upbringing. Like what else was going on? Was he just by himself the whole time? I understand that he killed like a certain squad or a certain group, right? When he barely landed where he landed. I don't know, because then you feel bad for him in the beginning, right? You feel really bad for him. You got a horrible end of where he landed. Granted, other Primarchs also did that, but luckily for them, they were able to succeed. Now, him being the only one who didn't, it's got to kind of sting mentally. But then once because other Primarchs have their own little abilities. I think Vulcan from Salamanders was supposed to be able to regenerate from whatever's damage that ever occurred to him. Conrad, his precognition. I think Sanguinius had the same thing, except his, from the Adeptus Ridiculous podcast, was that he would see brighter visions, right, of the future, while Conrad always saw like the negative ones. So I guess like a perk or like a special ability that they also have, right? And Angron being, I think he mentioned it here. I think it was also on the Adeptus Ridiculous podcast, where it was that he could have empathy or something to calm people or something like that. And then granted, when he gets the nails, then kind of has the opposite effect. Very ironic. But when he starts to get older and is actually starts killing his guys, I understand he's more likely than not depressed, pissed off at the Emperor. But at a certain point, it also seems like he just like you get stuck in a role, and if you don't do that role, it seems like the Big E's and try to screw you over in some form or fashion. And it seems like the Emperor is also kind of doing the same thing, right? Where he's planting seeds. I don't know if he's doing it intentionally or intentionally, where eventually that's going to come back to bite him, which it ended up doing, right, in the Horus Heresy. But definitely a big thing for me was, as soon as he started killing his own guys, I'm like, all right, you know what? Screw this guy. I mean, he sucks too. He was not tactically sound. I don't know why it was specifically with him. I think maybe the nails probably made it even worse from before. But then again, they said he had a father. But this doesn't just mean that the father had some tactics or was a warrior himself, right? And they could have taught him things that maybe other Primarchs had, right? That who worse, like for example, Gilliman, right? Wasn't he like found by some kind of noble family, or like the family, like the leader of a family or something like that was very wealthy? But he was also able to get like guidance, right, and all sorts of manner of things. Now, as far as Angron, it seems like a lot of that, if he did get it, that it was probably just in forms of combat, right? Which you would think that they would also introduce some tactics for him to use, right, for like different types of enemies, but it doesn't seem like that happened. But in any case, that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, really does help me out a lot. Hit that dislike button if you didn't like it, and leave me little comments to maybe what it was. Really does help me improve the channel, helps me, help you, help everybody. So, until then, I'll see you all in the next video.